I never expected that a simple visit to my grandpa's house would turn my entire world upside down. It started like any other weekend, quiet, familiar, comforting. Grandpa was sitting in his old recliner, the one that creaked every time he shifted. We were sipping tea, talking about nothing in particular, when out of nowhere, he looked at me with this heaviness in his eyes. Then he said, "There's something I've been meaning to tell you. Something I should have said a long time ago." At first, I thought it was just another one of his old stories. You know, the kind that drifts between half-truth and memory. But this time was different. His voice shook, his hands trembled. And what he told me next, I still don't know how to process it. It wasn't just a family secret. It was a truth that shattered everything I believed about the people I loved most, including my own parents. As he spoke, I felt my heart racing, my thoughts spinning. One quiet afternoon turned into a life-altering moment I never saw coming. And just when I thought he had said it all, he paused, like he was holding back something even deeper. He leaned back slowly, eyes fixed on the window like he was staring into the past. "You were just a baby when it happened," he said quietly. "No one ever told you because, well, it was easier that way." My chest tightened. I could hear the clock ticking in the background, louder than it had ever sounded before. He mentioned a name I didn't recognize, a woman, and the way he said it, almost with regret, sent chills through me. I asked him who she was, but he didn't answer right away. Instead, he sighed, like he was deciding whether to keep going. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. "Your father isn't the man you think he is." That one sentence echoed in my mind. What did that mean? Was it about an affair? A betrayal? Or something even deeper? I couldn't speak. I just sat there, frozen, as Grandpa reached into the drawer next to him and pulled out an old, faded envelope. It was yellowed with age, sealed tight, and looked like it hadn't been touched in years. He held it out, but didn't say a word. My hand hovered over it, heart pounding. I took the envelope, but my hands were shaking too much to open it. Grandpa looked like he wanted to stop me, like part of him regretted bringing it up at all. "I've kept that hidden for over 20 years, he muttered. "Not because I wanted to lie, but because I didn't know how to tell the truth without breaking everything." That sentence hit hard. I glanced at him, searching his face for answers, but all I saw was guilt. He finally whispered, "Your mother never knew. At least, not the whole story." My heart raced even faster. Was this about an affair? A long-buried family secret? Something in his tone told me it was bigger than that. I asked who else knew. He hesitated, then quietly said, "Just me, and her." That, her, again. The woman he wouldn't name. And suddenly, I realized this wasn't just about the past. Whatever was in that envelope, it was going to change everything moving forward. I finally opened the envelope, my fingers tearing slowly through the seal, like I was peeling back the layers of my own life. Inside were a few old photographs and a folded letter, the paper thin and worn. One photo stopped me cold. My dad, younger, smiling beside a woman who wasn't my mom. They looked close, too close. I flipped it over. On the back was a date, just months before I was born. My mind raced. Was she someone he loved, someone he left behind, or someone he never let go? The letter shook in my hands as I started to read. It wasn't just from the woman, it was to my grandpa. She wrote about a decision, a promise made in secret, and something about me, my name, written in her handwriting. My breath caught. Grandpa was silent, staring at the floor. The room felt heavier now, like the truth was crawling up the walls. Then he finally looked at me and said, "You deserve to know who you really are." I stared at Grandpa, confused, trying to process what he just said. "What do you mean? Who I really am?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into a dusty photo album on the shelf behind him and pulled out a picture I had never seen before. It was of a newborn baby in someone else's arms. Not my mom's, not my dad's. Then he said something I never expected. "That's you, but she's not your mother." The air left my lungs. I felt like the floor had dropped beneath me. "What are you talking about?" I demanded. He finally confessed, "You were adopted. Secretly. Your father had an affair. She was the woman in the photo. He wanted to keep you, but she disappeared." My mind spun. Everything I knew about my life felt like a lie. And just when I thought I couldn't take more, Grandpa said, "She came back last week." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Adopted. A secret affair. My real mother had disappeared, and now she was back? Everything I thought I knew about my family felt like it was slipping through my fingers. I asked Grandpa where she was. He looked torn, like part of him wanted to protect me from the truth. Then he finally said, "She's here, in town. She reached out to me. She wants to meet you." My heart was pounding. I didn't know whether to be angry, scared, or curious. So many questions rushed through my mind. Why now? What did she want after all these years? Grandpa handed me a small folded piece of paper. It had an address and a time. "She'll be there tomorrow," he said, "but it's your choice." The next day, I drove to the spot. It was a quiet park, empty except for one woman sitting on a bench. As I walked closer, she looked up, and I froze. She looked just like me. Same eyes, same expression. But before I could speak, she whispered, "I'm not the only one who's been watching you." I turned around. Someone else was there, someone I never expected to see. I turned around slowly, heart pounding in my chest. Standing a few steps away was my dad. His face was pale, eyes locked on mine, filled with something between guilt and fear. I had never seen him look like that. The woman, my birth mother, stood up but didn't move closer. "He knew," she said softly. "He's always known." I didn't know what to say. My dad stepped forward, voice shaking. "I did what I thought was right. I couldn't lose you." He looked at me like he was begging for forgiveness, but my mind was spinning with too many thoughts. My whole life had been built on a secret, a decision they made without me. But in that moment, I realized something. I still had a choice. I took a deep breath and sat down on the bench. I asked them both to sit with me. No yelling, no blaming, just truth. We talked for hours, about the past, about the lies, and about what comes next. It didn't fix everything, but it started something honest. As I drove home, I looked at the photo from the envelope one last time. My life had changed forever, but maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something real.